Alright, I'm good. Let me just grab it. Yep. How many sheets do I need for the AC?
Probably just one.
Okay.
Everyone
Yeah.
It is possible to pass legacy racism and taking person with discrimination committees today through beginning 326. Standardized system found in racial class and quality because we're scientifically and legally biased to code competing and discriminated standing African Americans or below average score at lower scores practically superior to scholarship, low scores create systematic segregation, baptizing, testing effects, emotional and psychological states, body, poor performance, as a figuring, perpetuating economic inequity, the teaching gap exists, explicit evidence for the cause for themselves, you're going to lead 17. Which will have SAT scores persisted as SAT scores predict student success and qualities in the SAT scores distribution reflect reinforced racial inequalities and cross generation using collective population data average score for black and Latino school white nations race gap on the ACT over the special massive hill black white achievement gap in the ACT math scores remain unchanged over 15 years after it's significant impact on that change transition of inequality cross generation race gap being understated ceiling on the SAT score understated achievement race gap at ACT are comparable to the SAT gap and the SAT will continue to reproduce parts of inequality in American society. The gap is closing equally rising academic preparation, increasing importance of SAT preserves race and post level as well. Rising academic same information, especially SAT scores that negative affect equitable enrollment bottom continuous students, group across the board, similar rates of improvement among white and Asian students institutions, increasing the last SAT scores helps preserve institutional stratification progress, ignore the evidence policy based non-complete measurement in order to take account of other variables, and years no five. Meaning the best ignore not necessarily adequate predictor. 80% student success through failures explained by factors such as institutional efforts. The ACT prior predictor varies dramatically with different groups of students by race and ethnicity. Most research the most control success by graduation or organic score. But average should be the line to predictor future success, especially true for minorities and figures no five. Similar loss of contests emerges overriding considerations and emissions. This scores were at the lowest possible. At the lowest levels, high percentage still represents success. Important fact is study would be massive traditional validity studies distribution variety than ethnicity. Using extreme poverty and lack of consistency, differential performance may not be a function of test scores. The relationship between test and success is not a single test discrimination indicator to merit or inadequate overall through the context of admissions in elite institutions, reducing complex calculus of admissions to one or two numerical indicators likely to be misleading to educated policymakers examine critically in the argument that our primary and test is indicators of merit. College diversity is really close to wage gap patterns and inequality close to the rest of society affect the leadership tomorrow. Post-health and post-law. Among particular organizations associated with positive labor market outcomes and diversified colleges and universities has the potential over time to raise by the financial class and quality, cultivated set leaders with legitimacy in the access industry. But years in college matters ethnic diversity improves and alters racial attitudes for all 16. Income diversity on college campus influences subsequent behavior of the majority for the minority women is affected by number or type of black peers who that are exposed by this are exposed black peers were significantly more likely to turn black exposure. The addition of black peers leads to increase the likelihood of comparing black to behavior toward a new difference of black peers increased diversity does more than change self-reported attitudes all leads to meaningful changes to future behavior. I recommend the United States colleges and universities not consider standardized assessment undergraduate admissions decisions. I will defend the TOEFL ACT and SAT standardized assessment predictable limits for the resolution of international student. The standardized assessment for undergraduate admissions to SAT, TOEFL ACT. Only the actual standardized assessment admissions set up color and genetics were not to identify and act on performance problematic standards of intelligence at UAT. SAT tries to look at the test taker get the question correct for the score behind it. SAT, the question being valid, process, create self-reinforcing cycle race and class and inequality race. There was progress for the class that needs more than white, Latino, South needs more than white square. Response data match patterns, discourse towards our selection, which reproduces discourse results in the cycle. The SAT's textbook will allow race and reproduce racial outcomes. SAT's designed to stratify populations designed to produce a developer, but what prevails is the SAT extends directly from eugenics, presumes that intelligence is distributed across populations unequally. This is the only way I standardize as a tool when it's used racial profile minorities in inferior beings determined by the on February 15. Standardized as a function by determining method racial profiling schools. Racial profiling targeting particular groups of people because their race has been brought over school systems and educational performance to a bring background and reviews is failing. With asks to reduce to a test where functions being made by the child's intelligence, racial group low intelligence is a trope of superiority, coming to we norm as expectation that only the service system pass. If they did not have this word, they cannot send back word test refusing racial profiling, saying yes, dignity, and anti-racist humanizing schooling. One of the right New Hampshire Food Policy Lab 15. There was standardized testing test often intended for schools and students to innovate, inform, and test improving test taking scores. Standardized test scores do not predict students' success. SATs, ACTs are strong vaccines, still helping students, students develop students by the same multiple choice homework do much better. Students' average GPA measure performance asking from our IS class diversity increasing 31% students of color first generation road. Scores of the problem politics while struggling for the nationwide ranking to be as well. Overall, an SAT scores be traced from institutions that efforts maintain higher test scores, preserve ratings as well as create missions. As a nation's readers, sometimes different process, maxing, and conservative major college are focused on increasing standardized scores report to increase the weight the negative impacts on equity. The incarnation of the SC's diagnostic test reinforced racist minorities to consciously internalize their cuts and underperform due to behavior cognitive functions in 1995. Meaning score for black versus green white 65 plus diagnostic condition performs significantly worse than blacks non-diagnostic condition. The diagnostic condition included fewer test times than another condition, and we were caused by evaluation, comprehension, test anxiety, but depression, stereotype that are still in place, but black participants stereotype their causing permanent factors in feeding. Green. The standard main class of pressure social class and first it excludes people from moral calculations related to one. Reciprocal cognitive biases by reciprocal cognitive biases by people in groups and actors as are loud or social justice sectors. It just occurs to those who are deemed invisible or irrelevant, which are central line between those who are in and out of moral circle, those who fall outside and really to become invisible, meaning not acknowledging injustice, etc. Is not clever to be social cognition vigilant, listening, and listening to advice others, including being fostered by appreciation of diversity. Social class is not enough will. It will become aware of its operation, build systematic ways to mitigate effect. Social class can empower citizens. The role of possible for the behavior that proposes the best policy options for combat racism, the safe and inevitable. Speaking language prior to discussing policies, no one way to create social change debate. There's no thought. Control of government was history about since period the obligation to discuss what the government should be doing, acting on motivation, activism, and laws. Narratives augmented political power, co-opted role plan promotes documentary power, distinguishes more power than abandoning power in face of hegemony. Imagining socialist revolution is no less a fancy difference on Capitol Hill, so I must confront government's power. So I didn't read the last 2 points.
Okay.
The last two what?
The last 2 points.
So you read the winter latent and then covered stone?
Yeah.
And those naughty and those full one?
Yeah.
Is there anything else to say?
No.
Alright. Get the cross second. What is structural violence? How do we know structure has been used to cause oppression?
Like, as in general or specifically for the staff?
Yeah, like specific to the AC framework, I just want like a definition for what structural violence would be.
Well, basically, structural violence is basically like oppressing those who are outside of our moral circle, aka like.
What's our moral circle? How do we know what people fall inside or outside of the moral circle?
Like, so basically, people who are outside the moral circle are people who are oppressed.
Right. That's
So like,
kind
in
of
this case, people outside of our moral circle would be like students who are applying for colleges and are being like profiled against in these standardized tests.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the 4 point on the advantage. You say ignore their evidence in policy debates. It's not a complete measurement. It doesn't take into account for other variables. If we, what's the implication of this evidence?
It's basically just saying like most evidence about like tests as an indicator of merit or an indicator of college success don't take into account enough variables to actually.
Sure. So why doesn't the offense coming out of the app, like all of your corded studies and pieces of evidence, seem to contradict this point, right? Because those pieces of evidence also are inevitably not accounting for other pieces of variables.
Like, what do you mean?
For example, all of your advantage doesn't account for things such as the root cause of class-based inequality, but you still say that
Yeah, so our app doesn't need to account for
So your evidence doesn't need to account for variables, but ours does?
No, because the Smith and Garrison 05 evidence is specifically talk about studies that ignore factors such as like institutional efforts, like a college's efforts to make sure students succeeds.
Sure, so why doesn't the app also lack evidence that accounts for colleges' attempts to make standardized tests more accessible? For example, college board movement in the last few years coming out of cheating scandals. Why does your evidence get out of that?
I mean, because our evidence implicitly denies those claims.
Oh, right, but it's implicit. It's not explicit. Just like things that you say that we don't get dealing from.
We're saying that our entire advantage is denying that claim.
Right, we're good. Let's talk about the solvency. So you're saying you'll defend. Why is TOEFL a type of standardized test that is key for undergrad admissions decisions?
Why is it?
Yeah, why? Why is that part? Why are you including that with the SAT and the ACT?
Because it's the most topical limits for the resolution.
I understand that, but could you further reiterate that point a little bit differently? Why should we include TOEFL? Why isn't SAT and ACT just the confines?
Because it makes our app more topical, gives you more ground.
So if I can spec one other test, and I've given you more ground, is that okay?
No.
Why not?
Because you haven't given us ground.
But say for example, I were to read an off that pertains to the IPEC, would that not also be net beneficial for you based off of the idea that you can generate more? Generate more offense because there are more case terms too, hypothetically, and NC that depends on another app.
That would not give us more ground.
Okay, that's fine. going to be 4 off on case.
4 off and then case top down.
Case there will be cards and then framework top down. But the cards will be off. Okay, the doc is sent, just let me know whenever it has it. Oh, I guess we're doing 5 minutes of prep, so I have 4:50 left. But, yeah. Just let me know when everyone's good. Good. First off, in the United States, colleges and universities don't have to standardize as an undergraduate admissions decision except for homeschool students at College Transition 17. There's no way around standardized test scores that are more important for high school, for homeschool and for traditional high school students. If the FLA examiners will say the law way to compensate for a lack of normalized grades at even some homeschool usually require homeschool students to submit test scores. Standardized test scores provide objective evidence for grades if you want serious consideration to submit them. And outweigh on scale grade 1-7. There are 200 million homeschool students in the U.S. in 2016, except from 22 million in 2010. The demographically wide variety of people homeschool, low, middle, and high income families, high school homeschool students are black, Asian, Hispanic, or other non-white, and that's pretty key. They have discussed the weak rapidly exes homeschool feature, which one of the most diverse students. Second off is the critique. The role development is focused on the best of settler colonialism, creating cracks the comfort of settler mentalities and active affirmation of indigenous power. Henderson 17. Southern allies must stand the way that unconscious conflict reveals failure of internalization of the 70s for aging goals, the cycle center provides the abbey bogus response to sexual committee, so order to have offer an opportunity to pursue the restoring of settler history to be set with all of these built upon the dispossession of indigenous peoples versus the sexual proven reason practice and speech acting the repetitive process of every life which settlers seems to be able to provide down lists similar I go to this what easily repetitions of versus outside fortune kind of the sovereign indigenous people will first speak on and affirmation of the same nation settlers sovereignty which paper over the reality that this land is stolen and continually erase the story of native populations. That's verse 13. The government assertion sovereignty of native population, not native territory, not native inhabitants, that can be asserted the U.S. sovereignty of the United States, the originary indigenous sovereignty, every day assertion not only to the state remain not even settler sovereignty in the states of being descended on the foreign policy that displaced indigenous presence in collections from all indigenous find jurisdiction of native populations with the appropriation of the lands not simply disappear when Indians are declared no longer there. These framings normalize and propel settlement and universities are not only built on stolen land, but reflect continued and fearless ideology and reinvest the U.S. project to settler colonialism, decolonizing anyway, but literal, particularly within colleges, is insufficient. That's paper 17. University of Oklahoma occupied indigenous and stolen capital East Field. University is in the university system inside the U.S. is the usually tied to a project cycle seeking an alien conversion related capital for the investigation of wilderness and one of the states related to colonize the Northern so the prioritization of second work have University Commission is part of the Empire Self-Making Project of the U.S. Settlement colonial university investments are investments in the very future settlement colonialism universities and capital commission the economy university not only economy the organizational work of the knowledge body but it's about the groundwork investment capital rise matters to the university and settlement colonialism is not an event, but a structured, ongoing, repetitive process that recreates a short temporal violence against the indigenous person and the chattel slave every day that the settler remains on stolen land. That's Chapter Yang 1. Settlement making indigenous and source of capital destruction of indigenous relations to labor representing cosmological violence is not temporally connected to the arrival of settlement restarted every day of occupation for settlers indigenous populations of the way in and the destruction of indigenous people over time through impulsive lands, free accounts of poverty and indigenous peoples must be raised. And thus the alternatives and ethics of incommensurability, terminating and decolonization, not a metaphorical, hypothetical solution, but a literal enactment of land return. That's Chapter Yang 2. Eventually, guys, unsettled some very isolations to service question will have decolonization will have after incommensurability and all of these questions. You don't get in order for you decolonization not a capital system to settle contributing against not believing you cannot be absorbed decolonization remains punctured by metaphorical finances. We have to enact incommensurability means evident that settlers want to way about maybe conventional to native people and decolonization is on ants and elsewhere. And third off, is that the absence of grain inflation, that's to bore 18. So now you can have someone serve work in grain inflation, society continued degradation of education standards high, school grades are inflated from 2098 to 2016, the average high school GPA rose from 3.7 to 3.3, and this leads to massive inequalities. That's support 2. The high school inflation prevention is inequality. White students seem far more inflation than minority schools. The problem unfair advantage in college admission is clear. Copy Ramsey at all 13 evidence. Cool. Fourth off, text the United States College and University officers United States undergraduate admission decision was submitted once United States for the Joshua 617 text list will be that happens not required to submit as security scores but need to submit once United States first Russian test will be at 100 well qualified and submitted on the case. Turn, even if they think that with the test are bad, the alternatives after the outcome much worse than July 18. They're, but think about the interviews validated for your interviews of all the hard candidates and perilous candidates have to get to the interviews, want to do the interviews, select candidates who are great second to black for integrity candidates, testifies are nothing compared to the racism in interviews. And the average with the instance that confidence for white girl never illusion very land that was stolen. That's talking Yang 12. So in instance of poisoning the potentially the settler feelings guilt without getting back later probably only serve the settler character and sees for decolonization can be more likely to person who be less likely to accept past text. And turn the ethics for the ethics of bias towards advantage and increase aptitude to increase bias to jolly applicants and promote 13. The forward application of inflation is role in soliciting supposed to be into similar percentage of their applicants supposed to be set by the senior which requires strong rise to be less privileged applicants less than admission officer to take shortcuts and snapshots of the rest of the security person they already do and no solvent the GPA is justified for the SAT that's GU 220. And since this is similar to the income class in high school GPA and as a reason test work. Let's go on to the framework. This is a robust theory of proof we draw from associated historical analysis of what land and capital role development usually far off completely from these necessary for reasons that are structural to but the way that it is the same example is an independent agricultural to the labor into the use and sovereignty and to the capacity legislation that's going to be with the together cover show five of it. Let's go on to 11 on the top down. On beneath 326 1.8 always explain how wires structures proliferate specifically tells the chart of these plethora of beneath that are predicated on who's considered human true there's no solvency that the tutoring generally more likely gets the tutoring. If they're rich white on race high of 17, one with this just because large structure capital staff gets over to the black right binders and act for settler bounds, which is an independent race and drop on all the pulse at 12, then one with this old level pieces of number 2 with a turn new recently be contact held that were being published in 2017. The big gap 3% of still spillover admitting that SHAT is non-TLE can't cut off the office Garrison 5 that's fine. On the all eight component is non-unique keys and can build from all these GPS equal to it and solvation of the process is just a random extended solvency on over 51 point digit population can never afford this solvency to describe the single ratio of digits like these native populations always work the sidelines 2 but it's just get a little on the and on the K on the last you know with this card is undergrad you should be like 2 but you should come with the UVA case to take out body you have to have doesn't solve. Okay, cool. Did you get the cards that I cut out?
Yeah, I got that.
You did? Alright, awesome. I'm good for cross.
Let's start with the K.
Yeah.
So is the university redeemable?
Is the university redeemable?
Yeah.
Insofar as it's built on settled land, we'd probably say no.
So never redeemable.
As per the resolution, like universities built in the United States, no.
Okay, so is anything that comes out of the university thus bad?
What do you mean?
What is anything that's produced by the university bad?
What comes out? Like, what do you mean? What? Can you give me an example?
Like, is any knowledge produced by the university bad?
Well, we would say that we would first have to engage in decolonization to be able to understand what would be an efficacious version of the university.
Okay, that's not answering the question.
No, it does.
Is knowledge that the university produces affected by the universities being built on stolen land?
Well, we would agree that that obviously land that or information that is processed through the university is filtered through a colonial mindset to some degree. That's why you should do things such as draw from indigenous scholarship, which is what the critique does.
Okay. Yeah. So what does the alt specifically do?
Yeah. We say you should decolonize. That means that settlers get off the land. They leave.
Okay. So where do we go?
Where do settlers go?
Yeah.
That's the question that is exactly the link that the critique says is important. It's a question of always looking to materiality that completely distances from the fact that right now set cult is happening and it is a massive violence that we should be in all aspects.
Okay, so that's cool. What happens? Does Trump just hand over the government to indigenous people? What are the specifics?
Well, the K doesn't fiat in action. We just say that you ought to decolonize.
So we should just talk about hypothetical actions.
Absolutely not. But it's not a question of what we discuss. Obviously, we say it's a good thing to discuss decolonization, but rather we say you actually enact it.
Do you get impacts of the alt from post-fiat or pre-fiat then?
What do you mean? What's
Are the impacts of the alt from post-fiat or pre-fiat input?
I heard the question, I just need to re-articulate what the distinction would be.
Okay, so you said, in one case you said it's not just about discussing the alt. Then you said it's about implementing the alt. So which is it? Is it pre-fiat or post-fiat?
Yeah, let me clarify. So we're saying that one, discussing things like indigenous scholarship, which the alt is included in because we read from Taki Yang, is a good thing. However, the alternative itself is a question of incommensurability, i.e. not stopping at anything until decolonization. There is no ethical action absent decall.
So is it pre-fiat or post-fiat?
Well, that binary seems to kind of bite into like the whole settler slave and settled triad, which is exactly what
How does
Tommy
it bite into that?
Yeah, so the idea is that settler notions of poverty, of sovereignty are always rooted in this conception of the settler, the slave, and the settled. This is the relation between the three. And the settler is always trying to
Okay.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I mean, I can explain to you. This is probably important for your strat.
What was the T argument you made on
What
case?
T argument?
I just heard like something about topicality. Was there like anything about
We don't make any arguments that are implicated to top Kelly. On Winter and Lake, we say it's not a robust ethical theory. That might have already heard tag.
Okay. I'll run red.
Cool.
I have 115 left.
Are there gonna be any cards?
Yeah, I'll send it.
What's the order?
Yeah, so
order on case, just top down.
Yeah. Sorry, my doc's not loading.
There you're fine.
Sorry, so is it K then case or K then the os and then case?
It's case.
Oh, okay. Got it.
K.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I had to close my 1AR doc to email it.
You're good.
Is anybody not ready?
I'm good.
As an overview on case, the standardized test is a tool of whiteness used to racially profile minorities and the disadvantaged. We must remove the test to solve for inequalities in the current college system. This is the solvency, and this reduces structural violence, which is our framing. Where we must listen to the outsiders who are oppressed by the current structures that we ignore by voting after you do this. And the role of the ballot for this fate is to vote for the mayor who best proposes the best policy option to solve for racism. So that's just an overview. On case they say that alternatives are worse, but these alternatives they speak about are still in the status quo today, which means that it's not unique. We're just taking out the worst form of admissions decisions. They say that this leads to like more early decision applications. It doesn't specifically. This card doesn't specifically mention where like removing the standardized test specifically leads to more early decision applications. It's just like a general principle. It's not specifically linked to our apps. They say that GPA is as biased as the SAT. Cross-apply our alternatives worst argument. It's the same thing here. They say Winterland is not a robust theory. It clearly is. This specifically mentions about how structures in our society are oppressing people and how we have to notice that structures and create inclusionary ways to include these people in our moral circles and into our calculus. They say the only responses they have to Coverstone is that it links into the K, so which means insofar as I can prove the thesis of the K is worse than Coverstone. That means I win Coverstone, and in Coverstone they completely conceded that to create actual social change, we need to promote policy options. We can't just promote hypothetical situations. We actually have to talk about things that are actually going to happen. On to the K. First, let the outweigh against the critique or else lose 100% of the AC freedom of 13 times to killing fairness and fairness first, even their argument seems true. That's only because they had an advantage. Fairness and meta constrain their ability to determine who meets their R&B. If one debater has 10 minutes to speak and the other has 3 minutes, it'll be incongruence and alter judgeability to the truth value of the critique. And you can weigh the out because we reduce like structural violence and we have guaranteed solvency. And they treat unsettling the settlers as an end in itself, modifying the ballot, meaning the judge can vote after to endorse their education is good and not reward the ballot. Don't give them into their self-interest, and decolonization fails because there are multiple factors precluding solvency, and we must engage institutions, and even in the face of settler colonialism, that means you prefer aft. Davis 17. Scholars caution against the sense of inevitability. They would risk delegitimizing indigenous resistance to reinscribing settler academics, political and intellectual authority to the detriment of indigenous voices, movements to track from indigenous political challenges to the state problematizing efforts to recolonization and decolonization without centering indigenous articulation going to point a relational approach without paying attention to the contingencies of these run the risk of reifying settler colonial domination. Indigenous researchers express possibility for listening, learning, acting. It's easier for settlers to advocate return the land to indigenous people over there rather than right where settlers own property, transforming social relations, being developing accountability, engaging in dialogue where respecting indigenous laws and jurisdictions. I'll cut the card there. Basically, my opponent is not like an indigenous person. They're just using this case as a commodification of the ballot. They're saying that the universities are settler land, but they're not actually doing anything to get to do it. And they see the political meaning rifles and it makes life harder for the natives. That turns the kid, especially cut out the backlash stuff. We're not going to read that card. And so basically, the alt has no solvency, and they use the university. Most of their sources are from university sources on the pick. Or on grade inflation, and crossed by the non-unique arguments on case. On the counterclaim, this, they say submit one. This is still racist because you still have to submit a test, which is still racist. And on the pick, just outweigh the case. Picks are bad for fairness because you lose 1 minute of 6 minutes of 20 state offense.
I have 450 left, so it's 30.
case pick.
Okay, so where do you want me to put the overview?
You can put it on the K book.
Okay, and then the homeschool pick.
Yeah, K, case, and homeschool. Well, it'll be that like argument about it'll be that order.
Okay.
All right, cool. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be a really easy round for you to decide insofar as they pretty much functionally cold concede the picks arguments. The only argument they have on it is theoretical, so we just need to beat back picks back, and we're going to be able to completely win the case. There's absolutely no other way they can possibly get off insofar as they go cold conceded. We have 100% strength on this offense. Let's go on to the pick. So on the K, the only argument that they need to answer to in order to clear the K is possible modification bad argument. This doesn't have an implication to things such as like drop the debater, which insofar as it's not implicated in the one area, you shouldn't allow them to implicate in the two areas. It would be completely new. I wouldn't have the ability to respond to it insofar as they say new argument, no argument, I wouldn't have the 3 or 2 ability to respond. Even if you don't find that it's not modification, it would be only indigenous scholarship. That's the only type of literature they drop them inside of people that we aren't going for the case. It's obviously it's not a deformity extrapolating to, but there's no like the argument that like isn't an implication to it. So obviously this data set to them is going to completely go away. Don't look for that. Cool. The other thing we might want to have to answer, but we probably don't exist for like a random fairness first argument. They just fairness first instead. One point of fairness is framed by one physical model of oppression, which is incompatible with their framework, which is structural violence with a personal purpose of the issue. It's premeditated murder. It's premeditated murder. They know it's a bad thing they did, and you should have it to the scholarship. Before they're willing to do that, you should be able to feel comfortable about pulling your trigger on per front. That's definitely that. Two of the purpose of per front is that fair start is non-quantifiable to the where there's no way to understand why fairness comes first. They don't give a specific reason for why fairness comes first, rather than semitic certain jurisdiction. There's no orifice which you shouldn't be able to feel comfortable with. Let's go on to the pick. They say picks are really issues and that's bad because it means you're off. But one point is that one point that obviously doesn't move case. They can just do better weighing, get the average and beneficial because it allows for new types of interactions between the pick and the average is better for critical thinking. Two an independent net benefit is the critical thinking. You have to think harder, get better to the macro, micro level instances of weight, which is all true. It's better for them. Obviously, usually picks are generally really bad, but as far as they have a robust ethical theory and an app that's going to be an app that's completely frontline, there's absolutely no reason why they wouldn't be able to comfortably do a weighing debate against a pick. That's their easiest out, but insofar as they don't do that, they don't do a type of argument that's going to be able to resolve why this particular pick is going to be good or going to be bad, means that you should feel comfortable with this. Picks are not the pick's bad argument isn't a voting issue. One, it's not implicated. Two, critical thinking is a counter standard. And three, that there's no mooting of case insofar as they can weigh the app, which resolves all the potential offs coming back. Cool. Let's go with the homeschool pick. You're going to be able to do this underneath their frame. You can send the pick test, which is that we should do the app and all instances except for homeschool children. Send the college transition subject exams, which says that the only option for homeschool students is to be able to submit their test scores because a lot of colleges view things like such as homeschooling as like very subjective, but obviously things like standardized tests are more objective metrics, and even if they are or not, that's still a perception that's currently held by colleges and universities, which is the prior question insofar as homeschool students only have the access to this. So that's going to completely outweigh you. They cold concede the ready 1-7 evidence. You can accept it. It's a question of scope. We said that more diverse students are being homeschooled right now than ever, which is rising. Insofar as these numbers are rising, but also the diversity is proportionally rising. It's a prior question. Insofar as they want to be able to do things such as get more minority students inside of colleges, which is their 7 point underneath the racial advocacy frame. Insofar as their contention based on advocacy, it's a prior question. We're going to be able to get those kids who are currently inside of homeschool students and currently being excluded from the as per the plan, excluded from colleges and universities. It's a prior question. We're going to be able to incorporate them. Cool. That always under their frame because it begs the question of how homeschool students are able to increase diversity inside schools. You should read the word right 1-7 evidence. It's quite good to talk about the question of what it means to be able to be a homeschool student, how they are very different population groups, i.e. people from all different types of backgrounds are going to be able to work inside of or operating inside of homeschool students, which is always on scope. You should put that always on probability because they're 100% strength links part they can see all the often they have no defensiveness inside of the 1 hour on why they're going to be actively excluding homeschool children, which is networks under their frame, and also always on probability. So that's always on scope, always on probability. Also always on time frame insofar as the diversification of homeschooling is increasing right now. That's rate 1-7 evidence, which shows that these populations have been increasing by the millions. We're literally seeing millions and millions of more children, not millions, but like hundreds of thousands of children. That is increasing the million number of a population of children inside of the United States who are being homeschooled right now. That means that we're going to be able to outweigh on time frame. These numbers are increasing right now. We definitely have 100% of the strength on scope. Scope is going to outweigh any of their possible residual claims they make inside of the 1 error. You shouldn't evaluate any new 2 error weighing as far as they should have taken the same inside of the 1 inside of the 1 error, but they didn't, which means they say it's a fair question to an our accessibility to make that argument on the pick look. Cool. So the pick solves the app offense. We're also allowed to do it in the instance of homeschool kids, which are not beneficial because they're super diversifying. They have a lot of valuable insights that are able to be used inside of the university, which is not beneficial, and that's the grade 1 evidence and the college transition set together. The
last one I'm going to do, just in case none of that is sufficient, we're going to go to the case flow and extend a little bit of offense there. So firstly, on their solvent, extend the non-unique argument, which is this is on the out 18 evidence. You can extend the one point, which is it's non-unique because these things such as the developer on other things such as GPA, which means it doesn't resolve any of their offense, and also that they're unable to have strictly on solvent on what it means to do this. Also, any case terms that we extend on case terms non-unique between the pick and the case term, between the pick and the app, we're just saying the pick has an additional net benefit that's not being weighted. So insofar as like that net benefit is good, that's sufficient to begin. Cool. We're also going to go for the Meltzer 18 evidence, which is the solvency term, which says that alternatives become more risky because admissions officers are more time crunched on time, which is net worth because it means that they spend less time on each application, which means that they don't look at the increases of every application before they get rid of standardized tests. They have all these increased applications, so now they have to sift through all these. The story of this case term is pretty clear insofar as they are already getting thousands and thousands of applications. Imagine what thousands more would do. Yeah, maybe more kids can apply, but that doesn't mean anything when they get a really racist admin officer who's been working really late at night trying to deal with things, but now they have to deal with another 10,000 applications. That's a problem. Their only response is that it doesn't explain why there are more ETFs, but obviously that's the first line of the card, so that the increase to the call rate to application inflation is going to be what happens with ETFs. ETFs are uniquely going to be biased against students from low income and high minority schools because they are a question that, because being able to like submit early decision, as I'm sure you're familiar with, the concept of having good college counseling that is able to resolve this. Obviously, unless you have good college counseling, it's going to be very difficult to be able to do that, which means that it is systemically disproportionately affecting minority students. It's pretty clear. Vote off the pick. We resolved any of the like potential offense on picks bad and on the caseload, and we read 2 case terms that sorted it out, so pretty good. Okay, I have you with 36. No, I might be crazy.
I have 115.
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, I'm crazy. 115. Got it.
What was the perf-con argument for fairness?
Sure. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah. So the argument is that insofar as you, wait, are we talking about on the case law? Yeah. So you said that we said that fairness is framed by a one-size-fits-all model of oppression. Obviously, other things make fairness structurally precluded, i.e. things like resource disparities inside of debate. That's incompatible with your framework that sees that like we should pay attention to structural violence. Fairness is a concept that exists in a world in which things like structural violence don't exist. We're saying there's no such thing as fairness. It's incoherent, and you're able to concede that.
Okay, so why are perf cons bad?
Yeah, we implicated to be premeditated murder. You knew it was a bad thing. You did it anyways. So it's like you are tied to your scholarship in the app that you extend in the 1AR, and then you completely went in with this knowledge, but then decided again to act against it.
So are perf cons like drop in beta ratio?
We're saying the implication of this like fairness question, yes.
Are they like in all implications?
We've contextualized it to the argument about fairness.
So the order will be just like an overview of the entire round,
Okay.
which can fall on the AC 12. Then ACK pin.
Cool. Alright, I'm here.
Is everyone good?
First, as an overview on case vote after users request standard assess racist first developer takes a minor score discrepancy spreads amount exacerbates inequality to the color board continually strikes the wedge for the test of minorities, giving answer more points to 3 minorities have consciously and unconsciously internalized stereotypes and attempt to avoid fulfilling them and hinders cognitive function impacts millions it goes to wage after increasing racism so the society that affects future leaders and population. The second part of this overview is going to be on perf cons. My opponent probably should have just collapsed to one position because in not doing so, their entire NR is a huge perf con on multiple levels. First of all, they still go for the pick, even though they extend the K, which is terrible because the pick is implicitly supporting the current state of the university, which means that like they say that the AF is a good idea through the pick, but then they're saying that the AF still like bites into the K, which means that the AF and the K can coexist, which means it's not mutually exclusive. And they still extend case terms while going for the pick, which means that it's a perf con because they say that they do the case through the pick, but then they also say that the case is terrible, which means that like which makes no sense if they say that like and that PerfCons is a voting issue on like the fairness argument, then it should be a voting issue here. And this just proves my argument about why picks are bad. They take the entirety of the app. They say I should just weigh the app against the picks, but that's literally impossible. I literally can't weigh the app against the picks because the pick is literally just the app plus like a couple other sentences. It's literally impossible for me to weigh. They say that I have this front line, so it should be really easy to weigh. That's not verifiable. You don't know if I have this front line or not. I'll tell you right now, there is no homeschool front line, which means it's impossible for me to weigh, which means we are winning the move 6 minutes one AC which means we are winning the move 6 minutes one AC argument. This is drop the barrier issue. Yeah, and the issue of the PerfCon extends through our commodification. The commodification evidence. They are not not an indigenous person. They are just pointing at indigenous people and saying we should give the land back to them. But that's easy. That's easy to say when you're not actually doing anything. They are naive. They think that just pointing at these indigenous people and saying the land needs to go to them will just cause Trump to give the land to them. It means no all solvency, and it's not a policy action, which means it won't create actual change. That's the coverage stone argument. Sorry for this bad order, but going back to the app. On the app case terms, they've completely conceded that they are non-unique, that they already happen being the status quo. Early admissions decisions in GPA are already considering college admissions. We just removed the worst form. So, a couple areas to vote on. First, picks bad, they didn't really answer it. Second is PerfCons. By not collapsing, they